Welcome to part 2 of the Minimal Techno Space and Dimension series. We heard in part 1 how by applying reverb to our sounds, we can make them sound more natural and lifelike. And the idea comes from the fact that in real life, all sounds have some sort of reverb or echo to them. Whether we hear them in a cathedral, a small room, or even a forest, every space adds some sort of dimension to a sound. And without applying these spatial effects to sounds in our music, things will sound a bit cold and sterile. In this video, we'll see how to further add space and dimension to our sounds using different delay and modulation effects. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a slapback delay to my snare clap sound. So I'm going to go up top, open up my rack mixer. I like using the rack mixer. It gives us that familiar session style mix view. And I'm just going to hit play. I'm just going to go into my browser and I'm going to add a filter delay to my snare. Now I'm going to turn the left and right off as I just want the middle delay. I'm going to set it to time and turn my feedback down so we don't have too many repeats. And just by adjusting the filter, we could give it a more crisp, airy sound up top. And now I'm just going to adjust my volume to the delay and my output volume for the snare. Again, you can hear by adjusting the filter, we can filter out certain frequencies of the delayed sound. And I have my time set to 110 milliseconds or so. You know, again, just to get that slapback sound. A nice quick delay gives us a nice slapback. And let's try adding a little feedback. And I think something like that works well. And let's unsolo the track. Now with everything playing, we can further adjust this. So I'm gonna lower the feedback a little bit. Okay, so now let's just play everything back together. And I'm just gonna turn on and off the filter delay so we can hear the effect it has with everything else. So this is with the filter delay, and this is without it. So you can hear it just adds a little bit of echo, a little bit of space. And you know what, let me just pan this a little bit. And that panning will just set the delay off a little bit to the side, and it'll just create a wider sound. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a nice big stereo effect to our hi-hats. So let me first fire off the clip that plays the hi-hats. I'm just going to go over and solo the hi-hats. And right now we just hear hi-hats going right down the center. And you can see that as well right here, that we just have hi-hats dead center. So there's a bunch of different ways to do this stereo widening effect. I'm just going to take the simple approach, use a simple delay. So I'm just going to drag the simple delay down to the closed hats, and I'm going to set both of them to time, both right and left to time. I have it set all the way wet because all we want to hear is the affected signal. And I have my time set to 1 millisecond. So right now all we have is a 1 millisecond delay on both sides, something we probably won't even notice, and I have my feedback all the way down. The idea is by offsetting these delay times on the right and left side a little bit, we'll get this effect that it sounds like the sound is kind of jumping out at us. So all I'm going to do is just offset one side until we start hearing the sound pop out. And it's important to note that since I have the wet dry set to all the way wet, we're not hearing any of the original signal. So as I bring up the delay time a little bit, we can hear that we have this pop out kind of effect. And over here at 10 milliseconds, it sounds pretty nice. Whereas if we jump all the way up to 57 milliseconds, we could notice that there is a delay on one side. So we're going to kind of set it right in the middle. Something like 15 milliseconds I think works. And again, the idea is that you could hear this stereo widening effect, that the hats are kind of just popping out and, you know, covering a lot of space. And let's play everything back together. And let's turn off the delay, and we'll hear the hi-hats kind of close up a bit. And let's solo the hats. And so you could hear the pop out effect. And when we turn it off, we lose that effect. Alright, and I hear this all over the place on minimal techno, any kind of techno really. Producers use this, you know, in some form or another. Like I said, there's many different ways to do it. I'm just taking the simple route and just using a simple delay to get this effect. Next, I'm going to hop on over to my conga sound, and let me solo that. Let's check it out. And you'll notice down here that I have an instrument rack with two separate sounds in it. Okay, and let's solo the first sound. And we can hear that it's more of a higher, bit of a plinky kind of sound. And then we have the other sound, which has a bit more body, adds a bit more punch to that plinky sound. So what I want to do is I just want to add like a delay just to the higher sound. So I'm going to go into my browser and drag a ping pong delay into the chain of the higher sound. And let me solo that. Alright, and notice that the delay is set to 3/16 notes, and I think that's fine. And I'm just going to take the feedback down a bit and the dry wet down a bit. Okay, and let's play them both together. So we can hear that the lower sound punches and the higher sound just trails a little bit, and I think it'll add a bit more flow to this groove. Alright, so it just definitely adds a bit more flow and drift and kind of just moves the drum beat along. At this point, I'd like to mention to be careful not to overdo your effects. Here I'm using lots of effects, but I'm careful to use small amounts of each of them. When I started in production, I always threw lots of effects on everything and turned the effect all the way up. I see lots of people who get into audio do this as well. Now understand that if you add too much of an effect to a sound, you'll just have that effect and the sound will be lost. So again, just remember that a little bit goes a long way, and to use effects subtly to get the best results. I'm actually just going to quickly pan the snare to the other side. The snare hits on the right, I'm going to have the echo on the left, thus adding space. And I'm just going to turn it down a bit. Alright, we can still hear the effects there. Alright, very cool. So we're going to wrap up this series next time. We're going to look at a doubling effect and some compression techniques. So we'll finish that up in part 3. But again, make sure to check out dubspot.com for more production tutorials and tips. Thanks a lot. Take care.